Hi guys, welcome back to Owl003. The best remote viewing you're ever going to see is right here in Owl003, and I do not attribute that to CRV necessarily. So before we go into this, just to make it known, I'm not picking on this methodology or any others. My goal is, when I show you guys these things, is to help educate and just kind of have an open mind about certain things, because in remote viewing things are marketed a certain way. So HRVG works great as a method. CRV works great. TRV works pretty good. A lot of people like SRV. But today we're going to talk about the origins. Now, if you look at it from a perspective of, you come out of the school of training, they're probably going to tell you a story about this guy named, I think his name's something England, maybe Richard England or something. And this whole thing with Glenn and this, this military unit that was, still kind of all on, none of that's been verified. Okay, so anyway, at least that aspect of it. So it is my opinion that it's most likely HRVG in general is just a hodgepodge of different remote viewing modalities, and that's fine. It works great. Why that it is, I can only speculate. But let's look at what we're dealing with. Okay. Now, I don't use HRVG mainly because if you put me in a room with 3 or 4 of what the public would assume is the best HRVG users, like say there's 3 of them and me, I have at least a 1 in 4 chance that I'm gonna prove myself to be more proficient, whether it be in a long-term project or a short-term project. So why change anything? You know what I mean? But people do like this. So anyway, so let's talk about that. You see this a lot in HRVG methodology, and almost looks kind of like a sigil, doesn't it? Kind of looks like that. Anyway, it's a modality that's really, really heavy on visuals for the prospective remote viewer, and kind of building this visual aspect into the method. Now, there are those that really adore this, and they say things like, "Oh, there was this better way to do remote viewing, and it wasn't talked about, blah blah blah." And this is where I explain how that's all bullshit and marketing or people are just stupid. But basically, this, in this neurolinguistic programming, the neurolinguistic programming aspect of it comes out of the Silva method because it works. Okay, so that's where the neurolinguistics comes out of it. Now, there's this images in the mind. Okay, so they have this. They're really, really promoting this whole thing about pictures and images and pictures and images. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but the way I was taught CRV, sketching is a big part of the process. Now, early on, it's basically kinesthetic sketching, of which a lot of my kinesthetic sketches are quite a bit better than a lot of people that need this visual mechanism. But I still get the visuals. It's just we wait till stage 4 to open that up. So from my perspective, it's almost like they've kind of jammed all these things together, and like they're trying to force this aperture open that wants to open on its own anyway. So whatever, like I said, it works. But it involves, again, I didn't take the class, but visual ideograms. So ideograms in general, which came from CRV. So we have that. They incorporate what they call a Playfair, which to me is a CRV matrix basically, except it has lines on the page. They call these things something else, and what it is basically a breakout of information. Okay, so you can put a different label on it. You can call it a Playfair rather than a matrix, but it's a matrix for sure. Okay. Now there is other aspects of this methodology, but we do know that that is the case, okay, and we do know that they do incorporate this, what they call visual ideograms. They do incorporate a Playfair. So what out of this is original? Nothing that I could see. The original part is putting them together and formatting this protocol. Now, as far as I could tell, there's no real, like, science of this as far as how it's opening, but again, they put this stuff together and it works. It works well. And then there was a whole thing with the whiteboard debacle lawsuit. That's a whole other ugly thing. But, my point is this: when you do this long enough, you start to separate the bullshit from what actual remote viewing is. Now, regardless of my experience of how crisp this picture looks or this, that, and the other, none of that matters to the client. My experience doesn't matter to the client. What matters to the client is the information I could put on that paper for them. That's what's, optimal in the process of remote viewing. And world-class remote viewers, this is not the issue, okay? This is not going to be a factor, okay? I am a remote viewer by trade. So if you take these pens and papers out of my mind and I have to do it like this, then that's how I'm going to have to do it. Ingo didn't have to use all these processes. He already figured out that all of this, no matter how you slice it, is a way to learn how to interpret information and where to place that information from your subconscious that's coming through. So he didn't really have to go through all this to kind of train yourself to get to know yourself. So when people say, if you ever hear the stupid comment of this is the better way or this is the ultimate way, the better in remote viewing is getting to know yourself. So that's basically somebody telling you, I have a better way of you learning to know yourself. That's stupid. It makes no sense. These are all systems on just learning how to interpret non-local information. So this is no more better than anything else established. And like I said, you got to look at the proof in the work, not the lip service, okay? So I believe, I'm pretty sure that Glenn had taken some TRV instruction as well. But it's pretty clear to me that, if you're familiar with this other stuff, that there's a lot of correlation there, okay? And, CRV was the first out of the pocket. So I advise you guys, again, to go with the modality that you're drawn to. And if you really have a passion for this, you're going to do fine no matter what. Birdie's got a new class out there. She's not going to be for teaching long. And if you're just getting into it, I would advise you to, her classes are very reasonable. Check and see what she's doing. Because it's going to come down to you to take it to the next level. None of this shit matters. This is marketing, guys. So True Origins, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical. But it works well, guys. It works well. I would put my work using this old tin can CRV against any of their best. Any of them. And the reason why that is because, I know better. This is, the reason why these other people, the reason why nothing is dominating anything else is because all the results are basically comes down to the individual. It's just a fact. So, don't, and if you get, again, this whole visual thing, as far as visuals, the only importance it really has in operational viewing is what's on the paper. So whether you're kinesthetically putting it on the paper, you're visually seeing it and then putting it on the paper, it doesn't matter. It matters what's there. So at the end of the day, this is all marketing, guys. So, again, works good. Works as good as the rest. Does not work better, in my opinion. The better comes down to you. remember that. So we'll catch you next time on Owl 003. If you want to buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com. Support the channel, please do. It's in the hyperlink. Please like, subscribe, and share the content, and we'll catch you next time on Owl 003.